I'm Roger Phillips. I'm a designer, a product designer, and a cartoonist with Close Encounter Studios. We started off by making the sculptures. The idea was that early on, a lot of the items that were available for people who liked aliens and UFOs were very kind of cheap and tchotchke-ish looking. Little koozies, keychains, and that sort of thing. So we said, let's try to make something a little more realistic, to kind of depict some of the historical events that happened in UFO history. And from that came the cartoons, the Gray Zone cartoons. And of course I did a little research about Pine Bush and what happened over here, and I like the idea that it's becoming more mainstream and people are more interested in the subject. So I said, this is a great thing, let's come over here and meet some folks who are like-minded. And the Hudson Valley is a hotbed for it, and we saw the famous one in the early 80s, that V-shaped one that went over the electrical power lines near our house, and that kind of started our interest in this whole phenomena. Well, it's funny because there's always split, those who believe that there's something else out there and those who don't. I think that community is not as welcoming as this one towards that idea. Pine Bush is now really making it a big point. And I think it's still split over there. But there are some, even now when I mention it or I talk about it, they say, yeah, I remember seeing that UFO back in the 80s. So there's a commonality there, so that people do remember that event. It was at night. I remember I was still in high school, and my friend calls me up. He says, you got to go outside. So my father and I, we run out in the backyard, like you see on TV, and then there's that famous boomerang-shaped, pattern of lights, and they're just silently gliding over these Con Edison high power lines, and just very silently gliding, and then just takes off into the sky. So that was our experience with seeing UFOs. I think you hope to see something, and sometimes oh, what is that silver glint, and it turns out to be an airplane.